I love organization. I don't know if I've said this on here before, but organization just really gets me fired up. Like this pegboard behind me, just love it. The only problem with pegboard is you run out. So I put actually 2 panels up recently, and I'm already running out of space. So I've got tools that I want to hang up to where I can get to them easier. And today we're going to fix that problem. All right, so I have a piece of pegboard that I'm going to put up today. It's 2 feet by 4 feet. Let me grab it real quick. Kapow! Pegboard. So this one's a little bit scuffed up. Got it at Home Depot. The scuffs don't really bother me because I'm just gonna, hang stuff in front of it. So shouldn't really show once things are hanging on it. Anyway, let's put this over here. So like I said, I got that piece at Home Depot. It was under $10 for it. And then I have some hardware pieces, hang on, right here. These are left over from these 2 pegboards. So all together, all the hardware will have been about 25 bucks. So you're, for all of this here, $20 worth of pegboard, plus $10 for the new one, $25 in the metal hardware, and $25 worth of these. These are little bins that you can put screws and stuff in. And they come with labels, so you can put labels on them if you want to. I don't, I just kind of know where things are. You can see I have a few right here with screws and door strike plates and stuff like that. So let's get started. Pegboards require some space between the wall and the actual pegboard so that your hooks can go into them. Let me grab one of these and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is a pegboard hardware piece. And this piece here is gonna go in through the pegboard hole and then slide up behind the pegboard, and this is gonna sit in the hole below it. So this piece actually sits behind the pegboard. And because of that, you can't just mount the pegboard against the wall. It's not gonna work. So we have to create spacers, and that's the first thing we're gonna do. You can buy spacers online or in the store. I didn't do that. So I'm just gonna make some. Basically, I'm gonna take a piece of lumber and just cut pieces that are gonna space this away from the wall, and I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. If you look right here, you can see that the pegboard is spaced away from the wall. And the way I did that was by just putting a piece of wood that's cut to about 1/4 inch thick right behind here. So that's how I'm gonna solve the problem, but I would recommend if you're already buying pegboard, just go ahead and get the spacers. You just run a screw through the pegboard hole and through that spacer into the wall, and you don't have to worry about cutting wood and doing all that stuff. So pick those up. I'll link below for pegboard, the spacers, all that stuff, so that you don't have to go through all that headache. And I'll also put a link below for the bins that I got, as well as the hardware kit. I was really happy with the hardware kit, and the bins are great. All of this right here came together really nicely. So these are maybe 1/4 inch thick. Doesn't really matter that they're exact if you're making your own spacers by just cutting up wood like this. They don't need to be exact, but they should all be pretty much the same thickness. So if they're too thick, not a problem. If they're not thick enough, you're gonna have trouble getting those pegs in there. So make sure you go at least 1/4 inch thick, maybe a little bit more, 3/8 or something like that, just to make sure that all of your hardware can go in behind the pegboard. So now that I've got these, let's get to mounting. Okay, so see this sad empty piece of wall right here? This is where my new fancy pegboard is gonna go. So first thing I'm gonna do is get up here, level it out, and mark off where my studs are so that I can make sure to hit a stud when I put a screw in. All right, this should be done in just a few easy steps. The first thing I'm gonna do is get the pegboard up on the wall. I wanna get it positioned just right, even with the pegboard next to it, but also level against the wall. And then I'm going to use a pencil to mark the corners of the pegboard on the top and the bottom. This will give me a reference. Now it's time to mark the studs. I'm using the pegboard as a reference, and I'm marking at 16, 32, and 48 inches. I'll do this process on the bottom and on the top. Okay, I have everything marked now, and I'm ready to start mounting. To mount these, I am going to be using 2.5 inch wood screws. That is overkill for this particular case, but it's what I had available. You could use, I think probably 1.25 inch would be long enough. Anything longer than that is fine, as long as you don't go past 3 inches. So more than 3 inches, you risk puncturing the other side of the wall. So stick to less than 3 inches. With 3 inches or less, wood screws are gonna work well because you are going into a wood stud behind the wall. I was able to identify the position of the studs because I know where a stud is for the last pegboard that I put in. So studs are spaced 16 inches typically. So I'm able to just measure 16 inches, mark where the next stud is, 16 more inches, mark a stud, 16 more inches. If you need to find a stud, You can do that with a stud finder. I don't want to go into details about how to use a stud finder in this video, but I'm sure you can find great content for that. Oh, by the way, I also want to mention I drilled a pilot hole in these. If you are making your own spacers, you'll want to drill a pilot hole. If you don't, this is just going to split and fall out and you won't actually create a space. So before I start to mount this, since I don't have someone to help me hold this up, I'm going to go ahead and attach the first spacers to the pegboard so that when I lift it up, all I have to do is run the screws in. These are going to be on the right side over here, but I've placed a screw here and a screw here. Since I'm doing this by myself, now these are sticking out and I'll just have to hold the pegboard up and put it in. Okay, the hard part's over. It's in position, it's held in place. Now I just need to put the other spacers in and screw them down. A little discovery I just made. I don't know if all pegboard is this way, but the holes in the pegboard are 1 inch apart. So if you know where one stud is, you can just count 16 holes over, put a mark, and that's where your next stud is. Pretty useful. Whew! All right, the pegboard is mounted. So now all we have to do is add stuff to it. This is the most exciting part. Here we go. By the way, it only took 25 minutes to do this, so not bad. All right, so I have a few more tools to put on here, but I'm gonna wrap that up for now. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like and subscribe and share and do all the things, right? Do all the things. And we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. So I cleverly marked where the studs were and exactly where my screws were gonna go in, and then I mounted a pegboard on top of my marks.